All right, today we're going to talk about the BNG Gateway. And this is like a Swiss Army knife for accepting payments. It's so versatile and really sets your business up for taking payments in multiple areas. You could swipe, which we'll get into. There is a shopping cart integration. You could do automated recurring billing, saves you a ton of time, and also reduces AR aging. Mobile payments. All this stuff dumps into the same source. We can sync to QuickBooks. You can take just a one-time payment, ACH and checks. It also does that as well. So first thing is let's go ahead and do a swiped transaction. So you can't see it, but I've got a little USB MagTech reader here. I'm going to swipe my card, and we'll plug in the amount. Easy as that, pretty simple. So that's swiping a transaction. Now, when someone calls over the phone or if you need to key enter a transaction, you're going to have a portal. And this portal is going to have a username and a password. So anywhere between 1 and 100 people in your organization can have access to this, and we can set credentials based on their title within the organization. So I'll simply go into Sale and plug in the info. Now, when making a transaction, there's also merchant-defined fields. These are optional, but they're very nice because, as I'll show you in a minute, you'll be able to track your reporting based on these. So if you have multiple locations, we can select the office the payment originated from, plug in an invoice number, and other types of payment. You can really track depending on how many credit card sales are for a specific payment, if it applies. And then the biggest thing is you can send a receipt email to that customer. Because remember, they're not swiping in person. This is over the phone. Transactions are keyed in. So if you can send them a receipt on the spot, they'll get this within a matter of seconds. And you'll instantly get a transaction successful message. And I just heard my phone go off, so the email was sent. This gives the card encrypted and truncated. And all these merchant-defined fields that we plugged in, it tracks. So we can now search by these fields down the line. Tells you the date and time of the transaction. I can turn around then and re-email this receipt or create a subscription. So for reoccurring billing, if this was a recurring billing that was once a week, twice a month, quarterly, annually, whatever amount, I could save myself time by coming in here, making sure all the information was plugged in, and then choose from an existing list of plans, or we'll just go ahead and create a new plan. We're going to charge the customer this much every time. I can charge them every X number of days, or on a specific day every month, or maybe give them a discounted break if they want to pay annually or something. We're going to go ahead and charge until canceled, or if it's an agreement, we can charge them based on the number of times. We've already charged them for June, so the next bill wouldn't be until July. And we're going to save the plan for future use. Now you'll see this has been successfully added. We can go ahead and see that down here and find out that one customer is under this plan. And then if we want to check out the specific details under subscription, we can find that as well. It's the same process for electronic checks, except we plug in the routing number and account number instead of the credit card number. Now for credit card sales, if there are no merchant-defined fields that apply to your business, we can set it up so that we can go into here and we can just collapse these fields so that we don't even have to worry about them, because they're not applicable to us. Now, I can also run mobile transactions. If I have a fleet or guys in the field that are running transactions, this is what it will look like on their iPad, Droid, tablet, or iPhone. They will see this. They'll have a little card reader, and this is what it'll look like on their screen. The customer then has a chance to either add a tip if it applies, and they sign on the screen. And here's that device, what it looks like. Again, that works with any smartphone or tablet. Now the gateway can also facilitate online bill pay, and we're seeing a lot more small and medium-sized customers paying this way because many of us now have grown up paying bills online, and so it's just an easier way for people to pay, especially when outside of the hours of 8 to 5. When your business is closed, I can simply come through here, and our web team plugs in API documents to the website and then just allows this to happen. And then once you continue to the secure form, it's the same process as normal that you would see on Amazon or eBay. So now that we've done mobile payments, we've done ACH, e-check payments, we've had people paying us online, all that is going to be tracked in one spot. And that's under the reporting tab. Now, transaction snapshot, that's like a 500-foot overview of what's going on. Very nice for a CFO, management, ownership level to see that today we've run two transactions for $190.10. We click on that magnifying glass, and we can now view these transactions. We can actually break it down by a specific type of payment, by location, and this is valuable when you're plugging in those merchant-defined fields. If you actually want to track by that, very easy to do so. The other method to track, and this is probably the more common one, is if we want to find an individual transaction or a company transaction, we could search by any number of these fields. Usually last name or company name is probably the most common. And we can find that individual transaction. And it's going to have all the details, including the time and the date, who was logged in, and what IP address for accountability. But from here, we can turn around and void this transaction, refund it, charge this card again, print or email the receipt, or go ahead and create a subscription for a recurring billing amount. Now, if you have a customer with one-off payments and you know they tend to pay from time to time, well, rather than going in and creating a whole new sale and plugging all this information again, save yourself time, go to reports, and as you're on the phone with them, oh, hello, Mr. Heinley. Yeah, let's go ahead and take that transaction, go under sale, and ask them, are you still paying in card ending in 4298? They say yes. All you need to do is simply change the dollar amount of the transaction, and away you go. A lot simpler than reinventing the wheel and typing in everything. So it's all about saving you time, automating processes when possible. Now, you can have as many as 1 to 20 people added to the Gateway account. So we typically do this during the onboard process with our support specialist. And you can actually, if you wanted to, get notified every single time a transaction is run. Now, depending on the type of business and how many transactions you get in a day, that could be pretty annoying to get an email every time there's a transaction. So more than likely, you're going to want a settlement summary, which is just a once-a-day email saying, here's a summary of the transactions that were run, and then a recurring report, which is nice. Merchant-defined fields. Here's an example of the different options we can have, and we can have up to 20 different merchant-defined fields. So these are easy to set up, and we typically ask you if you need any of these during the setup process. For example, location. I can just go in here and add another one. Save that field, and it will update on my sales screen. There it is. You can also make certain fields defined. In other words, if you have an organization and you need to know which employee created this sale, we can make certain fields mandatory. In other words, if these aren't filled in, you cannot finish the transaction. And so here's an example of that under one merchant that needs to have a specific name of the employee running the transaction and the invoice number already plugged in. You can also, instead of a MagTech encrypted card reader, you can have a signature capture device. So the customer can actually sign with this pen right in that spot. You can simply keep the copy right in the gateway, and the signature will show up. So this is very nice for companies that, instead of storing a year's worth of receipts and customer signatures, you can just simply go into the gateway under reporting, and the customer signature will show up. So for merchants that have QuickBooks accounting, this is a home run. QuickBooks integration. And for more information, you could talk to one of our sales reps. But basically, this will close out the invoice inside of QuickBooks and mark it as paid. So instead of running the transaction on our gateway, you can actually run it right inside of QuickBooks. There's an interface that you can download. It looks a little bit like this. You can process the payment. There's a drop-down box with open invoices. So you have to mark a payment against an open invoice. So if an invoice is created, you can choose from it from the pop-down box. It'll populate all the information. You can choose the method of payment, whether it be credit card or ACH electronic check, and then run the payment. You'll have the option to plug in the customer's email. It can email them on the spot, and then it will actually close out the invoice and mark it as paid inside of QuickBooks, which saves a ton of time as far as double data entry and not having to then go back into QuickBooks after the payment is made. This is an extra $10 a month per desktop that it's on, and it's a huge time saver. So definitely ask your sales rep about this if that's something that applies to you.